Guys, we are here for episode, I think we're on 5 now, of Hold My Wine, a Wonderfully Willamette Podcast. Things have changed up just a little bit today. Unfortunately, Katie was not able to make it today. Yeah, Katie, we miss you. Yeah. But we do have a special guest. It is our first guest of the season, Andy Rieder. Me and Charlene actually know him pretty well. He works with us in the real estate business towards inspecting. But we found out some pretty interesting facts about him, about being a drummer, being a part of a band. And so we're going to ask a couple questions to get to know him a little bit more. But before we dive into that, we are going to have Trevor take over for some information on what's going on with some of the market, financing-wise, what's happening.
Here we go. Start out with just a rate update. So over about the last month and a half, we've seen rates come down pretty substantially, nearly 1% in a lot of cases. So currently, as a national average for rates, conventional 30 years sitting at about 7.1%. If you were going to do a 15-year conventional loan, you're at about 6.5%. And then your government, VA, FHA, and USD are down around 6.4%.
That is good news.
Maybe some light at the end of the tunnel. So you may have seen the recent headlines suggesting that the Fed could cut rates up to 6 times in 2024. While nothing's set in stone, it is a really good sign. So we've been seeing data that's coming out that is saying inflation's coming down, and then the opinion of experts that essentially Fed needs to cut rates to essentially keep the U.S. from falling into a deep recession. Right. So there's a lot of preventative things, nothing set in stone, but it definitely is some light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of home buyers.
Well, that's exciting. It's one of those things, I mean, I've seen it. I'm pretty sure other people have as well, where it's like, oh, they're going to cut the rate like 4 times. They're going to do it 6 times. They're going to do it 8 times. But...
And nothing's set in stone. And that is the Fed funds rate. So that's the overnight borrowing rate, which is correlated to mortgage rates long term. But they don't go hand in hand. So mortgage rates are more associated with things going on at a macro level as far as the economy, inflation, things like that.
Yeah. Exciting times. Gosh, I mean, it's looking better. I mean, again, I like that a lot of lenders and mortgage brokers are obviously coming up with more unique ways to help first-time home buyers. And it was interesting, I just saw on the news and kind of the headlines that media is giving to people that it's even harder still now for millennials or Gen Zs to make up the wage gap and everything to even purchase first-time home buyers. But there's been some interesting stats when it comes to that, just with our age group.
Yeah, well, I heard that 19% of home buyers are single women, and compared to 10% of home buyers are single men.
Oh my gosh, so the women movement is happening. We're trying to buy a home.
Yeah.
Can't rely on men anymore. No.
Yeah.
Doing it independently.
Good job, ladies.
I know. Perfect. Well, all right, how was everyone's weekend? What did everybody do? Anything interesting?
So what did I do? A bunch of stuff around the house, raking leaves, putting up Christmas lights, taking care of business. Yeah.
Picked up a Christmas tree. Yeah, so got out there in the rain and the mud and cut one down and brought one home.
Where did you go?
Let's see, Tracy's U Cut, I think is what it was called, up towards Mount Hood. Estacada-ish out there.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I go with plastic. With a little small plastic tree.
And a little out of the box and it's up and ready.
Exactly. I'm like, it's part of it even has like the lights on it already. I'm simple.
Well, I did a couple things. The Deepwood Estates had a open house where you could go and tour the house there at the Deepwood Museum and Garden. That's what I think it's officially called. And that was fun because it's all decorated right now in Victorian Christmas style. And it's been a really long time since I've toured that house. It's pretty neat. It's part of our Salem heritage. If you don't know where it is, it's east of Bush Park off of 12th Street. It's a museum, and the grounds are really beautiful in the spring when they have the flowers and stuff. But it was kind of fun seeing the Christmas trees and how they decorated for Christmas in Victorian times. And then after that, I went and made wreaths at my brother's house, and my little granddaughter got to come with me and help build our first wreath ever.
I saw you post that. It was super cute. She's just so small. It was Lily, right?
Yeah, it was Lily.
Yeah. Yeah, she's adorable. And I went over to Furbish, the store that you mentioned. They have so much stuff. So it's like an antique-y shop. But they have a lot of cute stuff. It's a little overwhelming at first when walking in because I'm the one who's like, okay, I'll get this and I'll get this, I'll get this. And So I ended up spending like $1,500 at Costco.
I always think you can go into Costco and just look around.
You can't. You see that one thing where it's like, oh, the most random thing. I got my jacket from Costco, and it looks like I'm coming out of a blizzard, but it's cute.
Their stuff's just fantastic. It's hard to beat, so can't blame you.
Yeah, eye exam today at Costco. I'm getting my glasses at Costco. I mean, why not?
It's easy, it's affordable.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we are going to start the introduction again of Andy. We're super excited for you to be our first guest.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting. Yeah, appreciate it.
Very exciting. I mean, I know you started working with the Salem real estate group. It's been over a year now. A little, yeah, a year and a half, 2. I'm going to just round it up to 2 years.
That sounds good. Let's make it 3.
So how long have you actually been an inspector?
I'm in my 7th year.
Okay.
Been at it for a little while.
Mm-hmm. What made you become an inspector?
Well, I've always had a background in construction, rehabbing, remodeling. Growing up with my dad, he was always tinkering on things at the house. And, so I learned a lot from him and kind of got started at an early age. Some of my earliest memories are swinging a hand with my dad. So he introduced me to it. And then I had some construction jobs for a while. But I remember one time, this is kind of band related, actually. I was working on a band room, building out a studio in my garage. And I was describing some particular type of framing I was using in the band room. And my bandmate was like, you're really good at this. And you're obviously really passionate about this. You should do something about it. You should do it for a living. And I was like, that's an excellent idea. Yeah. And I happened to know a home inspector at the time and talked to him, and it sounded like a pretty good career. So the rest is history.
And well, tell us just a little bit about yourself. We know, obviously, you're in a band. You're a home inspector. Let's pull the curtain back on you, Andy Rieder.
Okay. I was born here in Salem. Grew up here and went to high school. Went up to Washington after high school. Went to school up there for a little while in the Grays Harbor area. Came back here, went to Western Oregon University. Then after that, moved up to Portland. Been up there ever since. Married, got 2 kids. 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, 2 boys. Yeah, so they keep us busy. Yeah, I have all kinds of hobbies, probably too many. I love sports. I like to fly drones. So I'm kind of a busybody. I always have some kind of project going. Yeah.
So what high school did you graduate from?
Oh, yeah.
Sprague High School.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm a North Salem Viking. Okay. Yeah.
Are we rivals? I don't remember.
I always find it interesting. Where did you graduate?
McNary.
Okay.
In the Celtic, yeah. Yeah,
I am not from Oregon. I graduated from Pearland High School.
Oilers.
An oil rig was our mascot.
I want to hear a little bit about some of the most interesting inspections that you've been to. So I guess let's just start out interesting. What is something interesting that you've come across at an inspection that maybe just could shock you a little bit or shock a future homeowner?
Shocking. I would say some of the properties that are just in really poor condition. I can think of an incident, think of a couple of incidents.
It's come across like hidden mold.
Oh, that's all over the place. That's like a common thing.
I kind of jumped on the first question I remembered.
Well, I can tell you right now, while you're thinking about what you're going to say, my HOA just found out. So I own a condo over off of Madrona. I don't live there currently, but there's at least 20 rats living under one of the buildings.
No.
I heard the population of rats in the Willamette Valley has increased substantially. I could touch on that.
That is disgusting. 20 at least. They like to eat the acorns that follow the tree. I don't know. That's what they told us.
Oh, that's the one thing is like the nutria and the rat, they're not in Texas. They are. I know they're in Texas, but you don't see them. Nutria are the most disgusting beaver /
water rats.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck they are, they're disgusting. I remember going to a yoga class once, and I was walking downtown Salem. I was walking, and I'm like, okay, saw this thing, and I was like, oh, someone just threw a random statue on the lawn and left it there. And then it made a noise and it moved. I was like, there's no way. I'm like, is it a beaver? It kind of turns around and look, that's not a beaver. I'm like, what? Took a photo, called my mom. What is this thing? I told my friend, they're like, no, it's a nutrient. No, that's not for me. That's not for me.
Sparked a memory. I also have a nutria experience, an inspecting experience. It was an older home, an older foundation with a lot of gaps in it. There was an exterior access to the crawl space. And I remember lifting up that hatch and a little hole about this big to get in there. And I poked my head in there, kind of worked around the corner, kind of where there was this hole, the only way to get onto this crawl space. And right around this corner, big hairy face, looking right at me. like the nutria, they have those whiskers and they just kind of like and the big old teeth and
big orange teeth like
yeah, big
beavers.
old exactly right there. And I was like of course, and but that was the only way into the crawl space. So I just kind of had to sit there for a second, decide what I was gonna do.
Go in there.
Yeah, well,
Wait, what decision is there to make?
I didn't. What I did is I went and I got a stick or a pole or something. I went back in there and I kind of jabbed at it for a little minute and, hey, scoot over, kind of yelling at it a little bit.
Yeah.
Eventually did kind of scoot over and I worked my way in there, worked past it. Didn't do anything, but it was a little sketchy. So I finally got in there and got the job done. It's never exciting to poke your head in a dark hole and see someone else in there.
There's too many creepy crawls.
I know. I can't. You get like inspectors. You guys get into like the weird dark crevices of the house that I would never. Cool, you go in there for a reason. I'm not going to. And the whole like that's the thing. There's some crawl space holes that are like, okay, you can maybe fit like a thigh in there or something, but somehow you guys get in there, and I don't know how.
Is flexibility a requirement for the job? There we go. Okay.
They were talking about rats earlier. I think almost every property has some sort of rodent activity going on in the crawl space.
Yeah.
I don't really mind that anymore. It's kind of just what we do. When there's an animal in there, you might have to wrestle to get out alive. It's not that exciting, but it's kind of part of the stuff.
So with that said, every house has some rodent activity. At what point would you, I guess, put it on a report and advise a home buyer that it could be a problem?
Yeah, I always note it when there's something in there, if I see a few droppings here or there. But when it is really important is when they start pulling apart insulation, usually is what you see. So in the crawl space, a spot people normally aren't poking their head into, they tend to get up into the insulation and they'll nest in there, droppings and what have you. They'll bring their nuts and things up in there. It can really wreak havoc in the insulation.
And they'll start chewing on like PVC too, right?
They'll chew through anything, wiring, plumbing, whatever. Once they're up, like literally living in there, then it's an issue.
Is there like a certain time of the year where they're a little bit more active that homeowners should kind of be aware of?
Maybe the change in temperature kind of coincides with more activity, but I see it all the time. Summertime, wintertime, doesn't really matter. They're just around.
Is there anything that a home buyer can kind of DIY to some degree to prevent them from going down? Or what areas should they be looking at to be like, okay, this should be covered? Or
common access points are through foundation screens. If there's tears or damage in those screens. A lot of times when the cable company comes in and pokes holes to run TV cable or internet cable or plumbing lines or air conditioning refrigerator lines, they do a good job at poking a hole, but they don't fill them in. And so those are easy access points for animals.
Well, they don't have a skeleton, correct? So basically, I've heard a mouse can fit through a dime and then a rat through a quarter or even smaller.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
I don't.
But they can compress down.
It's more like cartilage or something. It's not like hard bone. So when we were living down on First Street, there was a squirrel living in the attic. And it's a long story how we found it, but then we found baby squirrels. Then we had to put the baby squirrels out and the mom squirrel came and got him. But when we got her out of the house, we were like, okay, where's she? She carries the baby squirrel. Why would she carried it off to the next door neighbor's house and got in their attic?
Well, I knew I didn't want to be a home inspector when my dad had me crawl under our house when I was a kid because a possum had expired under the house and we had started to smell it. And so he did trade me a new skateboard for going in and I put a loop on it and drug it out, but that was a terrible experience. How old were you? Probably 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I was only small. He wasn't getting under there. He's a big guy.
I'm not going to do that.
I can see you being a skater kid.
Yeah. I had my time. Yeah.
Okay, did you wear like the helmet and the knee pads and all of that, or no?
Probably no knee pads. Probably was. I had the skater shoes and the helmet, stuff like that. But I went had a skateboard, had a scooter, tried it all. But I kind of always fell back on baseball and football.
I had a month where I really wanted to be a hockey player. This is in Texas, so there's no ice, or you don't really get a lot of it.
Dallas Stars.
No, that's north. That's like in Dallas. But like Houston, there's not. We would take a tennis ball, and my dad ended up getting us like little hockey sticks, and I would take my rollerblades and like go up and up. Was like really passionate about it for about a month, and then stopped. That was the closest to skating that I got. If someone was interested in becoming an inspector, what would be like one of the first things that you tell them?
Yeah, I think probably the First thing that I would recommend is joining one of the national inspecting organizations. So you have like a NACHI, National Association of Certified Home Inspectors. The other one would be ASHI, American Society of Home Inspectors. There's probably others, but
NACHI. I'm hungry now.
yeah, wealth of information that those organizations provide, connecting with other inspectors through online forums, and you can get all your continuing education training on there. Lots of help there. So I would start there. Then if you've decided you're gonna go down the road inspecting, you have the decision to go into business for yourself or go work for someone. Working for yourself isn't for everybody. You have to have a special personality to go down that road. But even if you are going to do it by yourself, I would recommend trying to hook up with an established inspector. At the very least, ride around with them or try and convince them to allow you to work for them for a year or so. Be honest, be upfront and say, hey, I want to do this on my own someday, but can you show me the ropes a little bit? Because you're going to learn stuff a lot faster. You'll eventually learn it on your own, but you're just going to learn it faster if someone else can kind of help you out there.
As realtors, number one question is how much money up front are you going to need to really start? 'Cause you have to get certified and
state licensing, right? Again, if you're working for someone else, really you're just paying for your own certification, and then your employer that you work for handles all of the contracting, licensing, and all that, insurance and stuff.
Okay.
Now, if you're going to go out on your own, then you have to cover all those costs yourself. So there's monthly and yearly costs to do that, and that's, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000s at the most to get started licensing wise, insurance wise. And then that's, ongoing. But as far as equipment goes, I mean, it can. To start, you just need some basic equipment, nice flashlight, a moisture meter, electrical testers, that type of stuff.
Camera.
I use my phone. Most inspectors nowadays are transitioning to using smartphones because the inspection software is all mobile applications now. You can get into other services like sewer scopes and radon testing. That gets real expensive if you purchase that. But, you got to think about it. It's going to pay for itself eventually, so it's a worthy investment. And then there's all sorts of other stuff like drones and things like that to invest in, Yeah, so, just to get started, maybe just a few $1,000s, and then up from there.
I know I have one other question towards inspecting specifically. What should first-time home buyers be looking for in an inspector? If I was like, I'm buying a home, I don't want to spend $400 or $500 on an inspection. My brother Jerry once said he built a debt. The difference between just kind of having your uncle or your cousin do it and hiring someone certified and who really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, great question. So a house it's a system of systems, a bunch of different things that all have to work together. There's a lot to know. You may be a master electrician, but you don't necessarily know how roof flashing is supposed to be put together. You might be an HVAC person, but you don't necessarily know how foundations are built. There's a lot to know. It's a big picture. Uncle Jerry might have some tips. Ultimately, you want to have a professional that's done it many times, has seen 1,000 houses, and can really give you a thorough review of the investment that you're making. On top of that, if you're researching inspectors, I think one of the most important things is communication, personalities. Can they tell you what they're finding? Right. You may have someone who's super technical, knows everything about this or that. But if they can't explain to you what that means, is this a critical thing? Is this something that I put on a to-do list for next year? Then what's the point? Consider that when you're interviewing.
I do like how you do that with our clients specifically. You are very communicative when it comes to that. I'm saying like, hey, these are the issues. This is kind of, you need to deal with this now. You're gonna
like this is a
forward.
safety issue.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And then this is something like, okay, it doesn't have to be something now, but later on down the road, you might have to deal with this later. So I do like that you communicate that kind of stuff.
So do you judge houses? Like when you go to somebody's house and you walk in, you're like, that flashing wasn't done right, or that siding wasn't, I see there's some dry rot over there.
Not really. Okay. I guess it's case by case.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm up on the peak of a sketchy roof, I probably shouldn't be up there, but I am, and I'll find maybe a missing shingle or a patch of moss or something. That's not supposed to be there. But I think, well, who in the world would dare to go up here? You know, I was like, I'm not gonna judge the person.
Yeah,
Or-
right. They didn't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm talking about like just any old house, like you're visiting a friend, or you know, you just see stuff, and
Yeah, and it's a problem. Even in my own house, I can't go 2 feet without. I gotta fix that. I gotta do that. Now I gotta put that on the list. I gotta do that, and I never get to it, of course.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, he doesn't judge customers,
I know.
just houses.
Fun. All right, so we know the inspector side about you. All right, tell us the mystery part of your band. Name
yeah.
where you guys, how
Yeah.
you guys came together,
Okay.
where you guys play.
All right, so this band is called Sunset the Machine, hard rock band, maybe a little punk or metal mixed into there. That's kind of my background in the punk rock. We've been together for, I don't know, 3 years maybe now. The guitar player and myself have been playing together for a long time. As I think we mentioned, I play drums, and we've kind of been in. I think this is the third band we've been in together, so we've been playing for a while. But Sunset the Machine has been a thing for I think a couple of years. We met through mutual friends. Yeah, just met that way. But I've been playing music since high school, since mid '90s, and I've always been in bands. I've never not been in a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of my favorite things in the world. It's my favorite way to express myself, to relieve stress. When I'm up on stage rocking or even playing in the garage when nobody's watching, it's like the best way to escape. It's the best way to feel present at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
I have no idea how like drummers drum. The multitasking and I can't.
I don't have the rhythm.
It takes practice. Drumming is one of those things where if you just practice, you can pull it off. There's people, of course, that are born with special talent. They can do these things like called polyrhythms, where this hand's doing one thing, and that's doing the other one, the foot's doing that, and the foot's doing that all in different times. I can't do that, of course. That's a special thing. But, I mean, just to hold a rhythm, it's just practice. You just sit down and practice.
I mean, don't you have to be what is it when you can
Ambidextrous. In a way, but I remember when it clicked for me. Like I said, I started playing guitar, and I always dabbled on the drums, but like you were saying, I couldn't really figure out how I can make my hand do that, but do my other hand at a different timing. But one day I was just messing around, and something clicked in my brain, and it started working, and I was like, oh, okay. It's hard to explain, but it's just practice.
Well, it's probably not a lot, unlike playing the piano, where you know the piano you're playing the bass with your left, and then you're playing the melody with your right, and you're doing two different things with your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's got to be something in track and field like that, isn't there?
Not really.
Work in unison.
I know, yeah. Like it's left, right, left, right, left, right.
I think it's that I've never been able, like, I've not been good with, like, basketball. I was bad at that. I was just good at running and jumping.
But you did the triple jump. That's like a weird jump.
It's literally right, right, left, or left, left, right. That's it. It's like playing hopscotch, but you're running at a very fast speed.
Okay, I would say that takes skill.
That's it. But it's like playing the drums. What is it? It's like rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time.
Where do you guys like to play?
Oh, good question. Well, man, we like to play everywhere. Like I said, I mean, even if it's playing in the garage and no one's watching, it's awesome. If we play on a big stage with big sound and there's a good amount of people there, that's awesome. It doesn't really matter. It's just fun to do. Of course, we have aspirations of playing bigger and better shows, but those are dreams. Yeah, there's a lot of good venues in Portland, of course. I understand there's some new ones up and coming here in Salem. A place called the Infinity Room, which I have.
Oh, I've seen that. That's down on Liberty.
Okay, all right. So hopefully sometime in the near future we'll be playing that.
What the hell?
Infinity Room. Let's go. Okay, if there's one place that you could play, where would it be?
Oh, any place?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a tough question. Gorge Amphitheater. Yeah. Or Red Rocks. Yeah. That would be incredible.
That's well, speaking of like concerts, Charlie, where are you going?
I get to go to the Sphere in Las Vegas. Yeah, okay. So I was told about this. Oh, we're going to go to this place. They have like thousands of TV screens or something like that. And it was going to be like U2. I'm like, well, I like U2 and I can, watch this, whatever it is. And then my boyfriend, Brian, he showed me like a reel from it like on Instagram. And I looked at it like, wait a second. There's a stage and there's people on the stage. I was like, is U2 going to be there? He's like, well, yeah, it's a concert. And then I was like super stoked because I'm like a Gen X kid and I listened to War like, over and over and over again. And I just could not wait to see them live.
That's a pretty cool place. I mean, I've seen videos of it, and it's just like this whole immersive experience. I didn't even know they had a stage there. I thought it was just like that they did videos, and you could kind of see a live
That's what I thought too.
It was more of like the experience and stuff.
It looks incredible.
Yeah, it is awesome. Well, it's like I know when people are flying over it, they have like a smiley face on the outside of it that looks like it's staring at the plane.
That's cool.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
That's awesome. Concerts are fun. What concert have you been to? I mean, that you haven't played at. Like, do you like going to concerts in Oregon?
Yep. Live music is certainly one of my favorite things in the world. Upcoming it's next summer, Providence Park up in Portland now is a music venue. First show is going to be Foo Fighters. So I'm going to that. Excited for that one. And then taking my mom to see Green Day a couple months later.
They're playing
At Providence Park. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
That'll be fun. Okay, so what concerts have you been to, Trevor?
Concerts have I been to? I think my first concert was Switchfoot. Funny enough, I was very young and fell asleep at the concert on the ground, like right in front of the speakers. I don't know how I did that, but yeah, so I guess I wasn't a fan of Switchfoot. But otherwise, a lot of festivals, things like up at the Gorge. The Gorge is a pretty awesome venue. But yeah, a lot of just different festivals and whatnot.
Nice. I know there's a lot. I mean, on my bucket list, Usher is supposed to be playing again in Vegas, and I really want to see it. I love Usher. 90s babies understand. Usher's amazing, especially live. It's Usher, Trevor.
Little hearts in your eyes. What's going on, man?
Yeah. Charlie, what about you?
Well, I don't go to concerts very often, but when I was in high school, I did see Motley Crue
Oh,
at the Memorial Coliseum.
fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know. I'm trying to think of the last person I actually did go see. It was the Oregon Festival, or like during the Oregon Fair, when they had a whole bunch of like people playing and stuff. I went down for one of those, but it started like raining and like lightning, and I was like, okay, they're gonna stop, and they kept going, and I was just like, okay, it's getting closer. Like the lightning is getting, and it doesn't lightning here in Oregon that often. So, but it was fun though. A lot of drunk people, but it was fun.
Oh, usually is.
There's never drunk people at concerts. What are you talking about?
Speaking of rain, as we speak, I think it's probably dumping outside. Winter's coming,
It's an atmospheric river. That's what they say, an atmospheric river.
coming down. Yeah. But speaking of winter, what would you advise homeowners to be doing, I guess right now, in order to prepare for winter and protect their home?
Sure, yeah. Well, starting outside, walk around your property, look for any trees that are near the house, especially tall ones with branches that are overhanging the roof. Good idea to have those trimmed back. You wouldn't want the wind to blow or heavy rain, or when the snow and ice comes, snow load can break up those branches and damage the roof. So pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. Then move over to your gutters. Make sure those are nice and clean and flowing the way they're supposed to. Make sure downspouts are connected to the underground drain line if there are drain lines. Otherwise, some type of extension or an elbow to divert water away from the foundation. That's the easiest way to keep water out of a crawl space in a basement. Something just as simple as cleaning out gutters. And then as temperatures start to go down as we move forward, consider insulating your exterior faucets. You can get those little foam covers. Sometimes, depending on the age of the house, there's little shut-off valves inside the house. Shut those off. If you have exterior sprinklers, get those shut down and drain all the pipes that are outside so they don't burst during freezing temperatures. If you can get to it, look for gaps and caulking around windows and doors. Check for damage, weather stripping, things like that.
Does leaving your hoses connected to the faucets over the winter, does that increase your exposure to freezing temps?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually it's recommended to disconnect the hose. Unless you've invested in a type of hose bib that is supposed to be frost proof. It's just a special design where the pipe goes inside the wall where it's insulated, and then the valve is actually in the wall. So when you shut off the faucet, there's no water left exposed to the exterior, but it's not guaranteed. Mm-hmm. I'd still recommend disconnecting the hose, but you probably don't have to go to the length of adding any extra insulation. You might as well just disconnect the hoses if you're not going to be using them anyway. Put them away for the season. Yeah. I always recommend, get your furnace service, changing air filters. If you got a fireplace, a wood burning stove, have a professional clean out the flues. Make sure there's no bird nests or anything like that. It's going to cause an issue.
Do you have a recommendation for who people should reach out to?
No. Pause. I have the hardest time, because I have 2 fireplaces. I have the hardest time getting a chimney person. I would say, it doesn't matter what season I call in, they're like, yeah, we'll get there in 4 months or whatever. It's like, I don't know if I'm just calling at the wrong time or if I should start a chimney cleaning business. I'm not sure.
Someone got a business opportunity.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
That's what I was saying. If they even answer the phone, and that drives me crazy. Home inspector lesson: if you answer the phone, you're ahead of most of your competition.
Yeah,
I know.
it's very true.
Yeah. Or any business, I suppose. It's just like answer your phone or have someone answer it for you.
Last year when the whole like cold snap happened and it really like froze, like what advice would you give to especially first time home buyers or even just people in general, kind of what to do when that does happen or if it does happen again?
On a freeze over?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do your best to prepare before that happens. Sometimes you don't get any warning. It's like tomorrow everything's frozen over. So you can do things like make sure you have flashlights and batteries and things like that all stocked and ready to go. Generators are becoming more popular. A lot of people are investing in some type of portable generator, not necessarily one that installs into your electrical panel like that, but just portable ones, gas powered.
Can you explain to us exactly what a home inspector is and what they do?
A home inspector assists a home buyer. Sometimes someone is listing a house, but usually it's when someone's buying a house. It's a professional that comes and does a thorough walkthrough of the house. It's important to remember that it is a visual, non-invasive type of inspection. Just means that we're not allowed to open up drywall and look inside or take appliances apart and put them back together. We will offer you a ton of information on the condition of the house at the time you're about to make that investment. Mm-hmm. We want to give you a general idea of the condition, if there's any things that need immediate repair, safety issues, some real major defects. We're definitely going to make you aware of that, and basically just trying to make you feel comfortable with the investment that you're about to make, and then offer as much recommendation as we can on what actions to take to resolve those issues, whether you need a professional contractor or just a handy person, or if it's a DIY solution.
What I really enjoyed when I bought a house was the inspection report. I mean, other than giving me peace of mind that nothing was majorly wrong with the house, it essentially gave me a to-do list once I moved in of little projects. Basically started 1, 2, 3, started going down the list and fixing things, and it's a great list to just for homeowners that are maybe handy and wanting to do work on the house. It kind of can be a basis of things that you should start working on.
Good point.
Or even for people, would you ever recommend, or what reasons would like anyone, not necessarily just a buyer or seller, but a homeowner, to reach out to an inspector? Is there ever a time when they do?
Sure, yeah. We can do limited item inspections. If you suspect there's something happening in your crawl space, or you suspect there might be a plumbing leak, but you don't necessarily want to hire an emergency plumber to come out and look at things, which is going to be expensive. But, we can come in and go through the crawl space for you and help you get an understanding of what might be going on. Mostly it's hidden areas.
Yeah.
We'll go up in the attic and if you suspect mold issues or something like that. Or, like I said, if you're about ready to put your house up for sale and you want to get an idea of what kind of things need to be worked on prior to listing your house, we can help with that.
And I know that's something that we always recommend, because you can do some of those things on your own, or you can maybe hire a handyman to do some things where the inspector might say in the report, well, you should have a professional so-and-so do this. And then when they come back and ask for a repair, they will specifically put on the repair request that you need to have a professional licensed bonded person to do this, when it might have been something you could have just done yourself. So you know ahead of time.
There's a lot of things like that, like updating smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, cleaning out your gutters, maybe fixing some peeling paint here or there, easy things like that. And then when the house is inspected during the sale, it just makes that process a lot easier.
I know one of the things was just like whenever I go, on an inspection, like with someone, or even before when they're looking at houses, one of the big questions they ask, they're like, okay, well, is that asbestos? Like, is there asbestos in like the wall or in the ceiling, like due to like the age of the home and stuff like that?
That's a good question.
What are your kind of comments for it?
Yeah, so you can find that in older houses, in ceiling, wall textures, glues or mastics and tiles. But, any house out of the, I'd say, to be safe, mid-80s or so, Yeah, so it was banned to stop manufacturing. It's still used today, even in some materials, but in terms of like paint or wall texture. But a lot of contractors had it in storage, and they were permitted to use what they had. So there are still some houses that have asbestos, possibly.
In Oregon, obviously, your family here. You got a wife, you got the little kiddos, 5 and 8.
Yep. 2 boys.
Oh man.
Yeah, they are busy, very destructive, but I love them. Yeah, they keep us busy for sure. I have 2 sisters. They're twins. They're a year and a half younger than I am, and they took off to Arizona about 20 years ago and never came back. Yeah, so they're down in, I want to say, Gilbert area, kind of a suburb of Phoenix down there. And then my parents live in Silverton, just right over east of us here. That's where my dad grew up. So, yeah, everyone knows each other for the most part. And there's a good little mix of the little downtown and the rural boundaries.
Yeah, well, I know, Charlene, last week you were talking about just like they have that Christmas.
Yeah, the Oregon Gardens, they have the
Yes.
Silverton Christmas something.
Yeah.
Christmas Bazaar, Christmas Fair, Christmas
It's
something.
at the Oregon Gardens, right?
It's at the Oregon
the
Gardens.
Oregon
Yeah, so they have the lights, but then they also have shopping. You can like go to the little booths and
Gosh, yeah. Well, awesome. Well, do you have any questions for us?
When is this episode coming out? When can I blast it to all of our friends?
Friday. The whole goal of this obviously was to bring people, who are local and who are part of the Willamette Valley kind of community and give them a chance to kind of talk about themselves, what they do, and obviously answer questions and give some information back to the community. Awesome. So we're excited about it and hopefully making some progress.
when's your next gig?
Let's see, January 12 at High Watermark in Portland.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a few other ones after that I'm not remembering. Yeah.
We'll get a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll be down here in Salem soon enough.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
at this Infinity Room place.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, you can find us on Spotify. We just put out our first single. We recorded it like a year ago, but it's just now coming out. So there'll be maybe 5 other songs that come out on this.
Fun. So how many people are total in your band?
3 of us. Yeah.
What are all their names?
Ryan plays guitar and sings, and Luke plays bass.
Are the kiddos getting into music?
Yeah, a little bit. I try and drag them along too when we play, all ages and outdoor gigs and stuff. But it's a little bit too loud for them at the moment. But I catch them, listening to music and doing that every once in a while. So I know I'm hoping it's in them, So I try my best to show it to them.
Good. Well, that's awesome. Well, we appreciate you stopping by.
This is good.
We really, really appreciate it. But we'll have Andy's information for both active inspections and his band down below. If you have any questions, again, on anything he's commented, please ask or give him a call. He'd be more than happy to help out. He's helped the Salem Real Estate Group out many, many times, and our clients love him. So if you guys have any questions, let us know. But we are signing off. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Hold My Wine, a Wonderfully Willamette podcast, has been brought to you by Guild Mortgage and the Salem Real Estate Group. Produced by Biscuits and Waffles Productions. It was filmed at Guild Mortgage Studios in Salem, Oregon. A special thanks to Charlene Morgan with Charlene Tracy Films for editing this podcast.